When word spreads that you've left for a summer gig, the nation shuts its borders in a total panic. Tanks surround the city and armed police close in. All because, in a rundown machinery plant, you turned gas cylinders into mortars, a scrap metal pipe into a rocket launcher, and a broken tractor into a track tank. That's how you end up arrested as an arms dealer. You think your life is over. But instead, a soldier asks if you can modify a retired J-10 fighter jet. You go quiet for a moment, then nod. But it will be expensive. Are you sure you want it modified? After you say that, the interrogation room falls into a deathly silence. Every cop stares, as if you've lost your mind. Time passes before anyone can even move. The soldier simply nods calmly. He turns to the stunned cop beside him. I'll be taking him with me. The cop doesn't object. He even clears your path. You swagger out as they watch in disbelief. You follow the soldier into a military jeep. You don't say a single word the entire time. Your calm face makes the driver think you really are just a fearless student. The jeep speeds along the road, quickly reaching the city outskirts, stopping in front of a time-worn factory. Please wait here, the soldier says, hurrying off. You immediately sense something is off. The place looks shabby, but the guards are elite. Security is tight, as if guarding a world-class prize. Your heart skips a beat. Is the fighter jet really here? Just then, several people stride toward you. The middle-aged man in the front looks stern. He's wearing a military uniform too. When you see the rank on his shoulder, you freeze. A 2-star insignia. Standing there is a Major General. Major General Brody Carson walks up with a smile. Mr. Gabe Morris, we invited you here because the military values your talent for modifications. Don't be nervous. This is just a business deal. Your tension melts away instantly. As long as they aren't arresting you, it's fine. You nod and follow him into the factory. The moment you step inside, what you see only solidifies your guess. Squads of 5 soldiers patrol in a web-like formation across the factory. The security inside is at least 10 times tighter than outside. As you step into the massive warehouse, a colossal object comes into view. It has a blue-gray exterior and a sleek, aerodynamic silhouette. Despite the battle scars, you can tell what it is instantly. It's a retired J-10 fighter jet. Brody points at it. Mr. Morris, can you modify this retired jet? You don't answer right away. Instead, with a single thought, the control panel of the system in your mind pops up. You move your fingers swiftly. In this system, there's nothing you can't modify. You close the control panel and meet Brody's gaze. I can. Before he can react, you voice your doubt. But, did you need a SWAT team to get me? For something so minor? The usually commanding Brody feels awkward instantly. He blushes. It's all a misunderstanding. I merely asked the police to bring you here. Who knew they'd think they'd caught a terrorist? The ridiculous explanation leaves you speechless. You take a deep breath and lay down your terms. Turning the J-10 into a 6th-gen fighter jet will take 15 to 20 days. And that'll be $10 million. Brody readily agrees, waving his hand like it's nothing. I'll give you a month. The materials you need will be covered. But I have one requirement. He pauses, his expression strange. You need to make it look as real as possible. The question confuses you. What a bizarre request. But since you are modifying it, you might as well go big. You stare at the battle-scarred relic, and a wild plan forms. Swapping the jet's runway for vertical liftoff makes it possible to evade radar detection. A hidden split-wing design can be added. And for the core engine, out of sheer madness, a miniature nuclear fission reactor with unlimited power. The fighter jet can fight indefinitely. With the plan set, you get straight to work. You lock yourself in for over half a month. With the system's tech, the work is effortless. It's like playing with Lego. Honestly, your understanding of the J-10 has already surpassed its creators. With this terrifying technical power, the heavily modified 6th-gen jet takes shape right before your eyes. You nod in satisfaction. At the half-completed steel beast, you snap a photo of the insane design and send it to Brody. Sir, it's almost done. Brody opens the image in his office, and his eyes almost pop out of his head. He thinks he's looking at a sci-fi movie CGI. Classic jets are all pieced together, but this one is seamless. Between the fuselage and wings, not a single seam is visible. It's as if forged from a single block. This ultra-streamlined design completely blows his decades of experience out of the water. What a shame. If only it were a real 6th-gen jet. Shocked as he is, Brody can't help but feel a little sad. After all, he only hired you to make a decoy for the upcoming airshow, to hide the country's real research. Staring at the deceptive exterior of the jet on his screen, Brody nods in satisfaction. It's not the real deal, but it's perfect for fooling people. Hiring this guy was my smartest move yet. The day before the airshow, Director of Logistics, Louis Watts, stares at the poster of your modified J-10 fighter jet. He's so absorbed he forgets to put down his mug. It looks like it came straight out of a sci-fi movie, with its aerodynamic beauty, and the level of detail is downright insane. If Lewis didn't know any better, he'd think they've achieved a breakthrough in jet tech. He checks your resume and is stunned. A university student, works part-time at a farm machinery plant, even helped overseas forces turn farm tools into weapons. This string of ridiculous labels don't match the fighter jet in front of him. It's so unbelievable that he pulls Brody aside to double-check. Brody, did that university student who works part-time at a machinery plant plant really build this alone? Brody answers seriously, I guarantee it. In all that time, Gabe was the only one in that warehouse. Lewis breathes a sigh of relief. Since the decoy jet is ready, he can get on with the real task at hand. Two heavyweight figures are coming today. Renowned aerospace experts, Dennis Lark and Jacob Sachs, are accompanied by Gilbert Lane, the commissar. Gilbert glances at the blueprints and gets chills. It's a concept drawing of a fighter jet. Its streamlined frame looks like a Swift. A single look reveals the crushing power of cutting-edge tech. Is this the fabled 6th-gen jet? Gilbert's heart races. If this thing actually gets built, their military could dominate everything. Sadly, it's still just on paper. The private jet touches down in no time. Lewis rushes the guests into the facility, eager to show what they've been working on. Commissar Lane, take a look at this. This is the surprise we prepared. Lewis points at the poster of the modified jet with immense pride. It looks so impressive that researchers could use this as a reference. Gilbert follows the gesture with a bored glance, then freezes like he's been struck by lightning. Why does that look so familiar? I think I've seen this only an instant before. A tense silence settles over the room. Beside him, Lewis goes just as rigid. That can't be. This poster has never been leaked. How could you have seen it? Brody rushes over to vouch for the security. Gilbert shakes his head. Maybe I'm just so tired that I'm seeing things. He studies the poster again, his eyes full of wistful longing. It looks amazing. Too bad it's just for show. Imagine if we actually have a jet like this. He has no idea. The real deal is in the warehouse. You're currently giving it a final check. The systems are fine. The engines are perfect. All it needs is a pilot, and the thing can lift off without a hitch. Once you're done with the checks, you open the warehouse doors. The soldiers waiting outside peek in curiously. Their eyes nearly pop out of their heads. Holy crap, isn't the cargo supposed to be a J-10 refit? What the hell is this thing? With a silver gray paint job, a sleek, streamlined silhouette that is completely seamless. It doesn't look like a fighter jet at all. It's an alien spaceship straight out of a sci-fi movie. The squad leader swallows hard. Mr. Morris, you're sure we're supposed to move this? Seeing how clueless they look, you nod calmly. This is it. There's no mistake. Move it already. With your word, they finally dare to touch it. They barely breathe as they secure the steel cables, afraid of scratching it. Thanks for the help, Mr. Morris. The squad leader salutes you with deep respect. You wave him off, like you've just sold a toy. It's no problem. Call me if there are issues. I offer after-sales services. You lock up the warehouse and head back to school. That night, Gilbert can't sleep. The image of that poster haunts him. Something's not right. Why is that poster sporting an exact silhouette of the 6th-gen blueprints that the two renowned scientists have? Could it have been leaked? No way. He fights his rising doubts and forces his eyes shut. Dawn comes in a flash. The airshow officially opens. The massive square is packed. The world's attention is on the event. The host draws every eye toward the stage as two gray-haired men take their places. It's Dennis, the director of Stratos Institute, and his deputy, Jacob. Instantly, everyone's eyes light up. These are living icons. This isn't an airshow. It's a sanctuary where every seasoned expert waits to kneel for an autograph. While the fanfare thunders outside, a haggard Gilbert corners Lewis with frantic urgency. Quick! Let me see that poster again. Swallowing his confusion, Lewis bites back his questions and pulls the image onto his screen. Gilbert takes one look at it and completely loses it. Damn it! This doesn't just look familiar. It's identical to the classified 6th-gen designs currently guarded by the two scientists. He spins around sharply. In a trembling voice, he asks, Lewis, where did this come from? Lewis beams with pride. It came from that modification genius Brody found. I have to say, the exterior of his work exceeds expectations. It'll scare the hell out of the foreign powers. That way, our real 6th-gen development can proceed uninterrupted. That remark sends Gilbert over the edge. Modification genius? He's not even in the military? Who exactly is he? Upon hearing the questions, Lewis, though confused, reveals all of your information to him. He's a sophomore at Southwest University. He works at a machinery plant over the summer. He's even modified quite a few machines for export. Don't worry, he knows where to draw the line. Otherwise, he'd have been caught selling firearms ages ago. Gilbert's face darkens. Brody might be in big trouble. I can guarantee that. These are the classified blueprints the two scientists have. That means the secrets of our project have been leaked. Just think about it. A sophomore turning farm equipment into military-grade weapons is crazy enough, and now he's pulled out blueprints for a classified jet. That's impossible, unless his background isn't what it seems. Lewis panics. How could that be? Gilbert has no time to explain. He makes a snap decision on the spot. Pull the promo images immediately. Minimize the fallout as much as possible, and get Brody here. Now, he cuts his words short and bolts towards the airshow exhibition center. He has to consult the two scientists immediately. Dennis and Jacob are surrounded by enthusiasts, firing off questions. Disregarding courtesy, Gilbert rushes in and cuts everyone short. He drags Dennis and Jacob into the backstage lounge. Dennis immediately senses something is off. Commissar Lane, what happened? Gilbert lets out a bitter laugh. He hands over the high-def promo image. Mr. Lark, Mr. Sachs, we have a problem. At first, the two don't understand, but the moment they take the phone, their pupils contract. They both gasp at the same time. Shock written written all over their faces. This is a 6th-gen jet. How do you have this? Gilbert explains everything about you. This image is public. Our closely guarded secret is out. Dennis and Jacob stare at the screen, their faces turning pale. The blueprints explicitly label the core engine. This isn't just a leak. This effectively hands a decade of national research to the enemy on a silver platter. This must be investigated thoroughly. Jacob is furious. He summons the R&D team. The atmosphere in the room is suffocating. The team leader is confused by the tension. He's still muttering to himself, "Weren't we supposed to relax? Why does this feel like an interrogation room?" Gilbert looks at everyone with a dark expression. The 6th-gen jet blueprints have leaked. The room erupts in chaos immediately. Shock and disbelief are all over their faces. The blueprints sit behind a digital fortress. How could there be a leak? The team leader breaks into a cold sweat. Is there a mole? Who is it? Admit it now, and we might show leniency. Jacob's gaze sharpens as he stares everyone down. Drop the stubborn act, and stop underestimating the state's reach. Once we identify the source, the consequences will crush you. Despite the ultimatum, the room falls dead silent. Everyone still looks rather confused. Not a single person steps forward. You're still going to act all innocent? I guess you won't learn until it's too late. Huh? Dennis snorts coldly. He slams the phone onto the table. See for yourselves. Explain how this ended up. In a chat history, everyone rushes over. After a single look, a mask of uneasiness settles over every face. This isn't right. The team leader jerks his head up, looking at Dennis and Jacob in disbelief. Mr. Lark, Mr. Sachs, is this really our work? How is the data way ahead of ours? Dennis and Jacob freeze on the spot. Their minds go blank. Ahead of us? How is that possible? They snatch the phone back, checking it like madmen. The more they look, the more stunned they become. They had been too angry to look closely earlier. After a proper comparison, they realize it isn't a leak. It's practically a miracle. The technical deadlocks of the last decade are all solved perfectly. It's unbelievable. Jacob and Dennis tremble with emotion. It's precisely because of these problems that the 6th-gen project has stalled. But someone has just slapped the answers right in their faces. Who on earth drew these blueprints? Dennis searches his memory. He's sure such a prodigy doesn't exist in the institute. The R&D goes into a frenzy of excitement. The unfathomably precise calculations raises their hair. This is without a doubt a once-in-a-lifetime genius. This logic is insane. Why didn't I think of that? Look here. This is our core problem, and it's solved so effortlessly. How is that person's brain wired? Is this really someone from our institute? When did we get a big shot like this? Gilbert and Lewis, who came for the mole, are dumbfounded. Wait, weren't we here to catch the mole? How did it go from a mole to full-on academic idolization? But no one pays them any attention. Dennis is beside himself with joy. Quick, send this to HQ immediately. Mobilize the entire institute to verify the authenticity of this data with full force. Upon getting that order, everyone lunges at their computers like wolves, accessing the internal network and uploading the blueprints. All eyes are glued to the screens as they stifle their breathing. Gilbert is so nervous that he barely dares to breathe. That moment feels like a century. Suddenly, a message pops up from headquarters. Verification successful. Everything is correct. Dennis bursts into tears. The 6th-gen jet has always been a distant dream, yet amidst the lies of the airshow, he has stumbled upon hope for the project. No. This isn't just hope. According to the data on your blueprints, the technological hurdles have been utterly destroyed. Jacob's voice trembles. Dennis, we're saved. Dennis clenches his fists. His mind races. He realizes the truth. With the blueprints you provided, the 6th-gen jet can be built now. When this fighter jet makes its debut, the world won't just be in for a treat. It will be in for a fright. While the industry giants admires your masterpiece, Brody is scared out of his wits. So, is everything fine now? He still doesn't get what happened. Didn't he just ask you to build a model? Take some promo shots? How is he charged for leaking state secrets? The handcuffs are still on the table. Dennis whips his head around. No. This just got much bigger. Brody feels like his head is about to explode. It got bigger? Dennis and Jacob exchange a glance. They stare Brody down like hawks. You say the blueprints came from the modification genius you found. Yes. Brody is filled with despair. He thinks his life is over. All he can do is be honest and hope for leniency. That genius is a student at Southwest University. I only asked him to build a model. There's honestly nothing more to it. Dennis knits his brows. That may be a good school, but to produce a prodigy like that? Someone who modifies jet and solves national problems on the side? He just doesn't buy it. To them, you are now a mysterious, untouchable figure. Seeing their disbelief, Brody freaks out. If you don't believe me, I can take you to meet him right now. The school isn't far from here. Gilbert immediately snaps. Are you kidding? You want two renowned scientists to meet someone we haven't even vetted? What if you're an enemy spy? What if something goes wrong? Who will take responsibility for that? Yet, Dennis and and Jacob are intrigued. After all, you solved their 6th-gen jet problem. Even a few minutes with you would be worth everything to them. As the standoff continues, there's a knock. A personnel shatters the stalemate. Commissar Lane, the airshow is starting. Can we begin the fighter jet model exhibition? Gilbert nods without thinking. The blueprints raise questions, but the one outside is still just a model. It shouldn't cause any real trouble. Even so, Dennis and Jacob can't sit still. They head outside to have a look. They want to see what kind of jet a genius capable of the impossible has built. Soon, everyone reaches the exhibition center. A massive object stands center stage, towering under a giant curtain. As the curtain lifts, a sleek, otherworldly silhouette suddenly appears before everyone's eyes. The crowd stops breathing. It takes a long moment before the gasps of surprise begin. Wow, oh my god, this is a future fighter jet model? This looks way too real. Everyone panics once they realize the model is made of aerospace-grade metal. Through the glass, the cockpit looks crystal clear. This doesn't even look like a model. People start wondering if the organizers have brought out Stratos Institute's crown jewel. As the crowd buzzes with guesses, Dennis and Jacob arrive with Brody and the others. What the hell? A researcher swears out loud. Although the rest doesn't make a sound, they all stare wide-eyed, their lips trembling. They can't manage a word for a long time. Finally, Dennis snaps out of it. He turns to Brody with a look of pure shock. You're saying the student did this? Brody nods fervently, overflowing with undisguised praise. The guy really delivered. He did it all alone, and he nailed every single detail. Dennis and Jacob exchange a look, shock written all over their faces. Without a word, Dennis and Jacob head straight for the jet. They inspect it from top to bottom, growing more serious by the second. They thought Brody was exaggerating, but seeing the craftsmanship in person, they're sure no ordinary person did this. The wing-to-fuselage integration is seamless, as if crafted by nature itself. This is a one-to-one replica, built straight from the blueprints. Dennis' heart races. If you can produce a full blueprint, you could absolutely build a real one. That thought makes them break into a sweat. They're debating calling the military to clear the place, when someone in the crowd shouts, "There's a manual here too." Dennis and Jacob hurry over. On a sheet of paper, bold and clear, is the feature list you left for them. Vertical takeoff, holographic stealth system, full radar invisibility. By the last line, everyone's eyes go wide. The power system uses a nuclear fission reactor. This list of sci-fi terminology instantly blows the crowd away. Are we seriously this advanced now? A system powered by a nuclear fission reactor? That's insane. The crowd is electrified. Everyone's standing a little taller. But when Dennis and Jacob see those words, they visibly relax. The earlier technology was plausible, but nuclear fission is pure fantasy. With that, they stop worrying about security leaks. Someone in the crowd calls out eagerly, "Mr. Lark, Mr. Sachs, since this is from the Research Institute, can you tell us about it?" Everyone chimes in. "Yeah, give us a breakdown. Satisfy our curiosity, please." With the crowd staring expectantly, convinced it's just a big toy, Dennis and Jacob perk up. They nod at the crowd. Of course, let's imagine this future fighter jet together. Upon hearing Dennis say that, everyone is instantly pumped. They scramble for notebooks, afraid of missing a single word. Seeing everyone so worked up, Dennis lowers his hand slowly. "This isn't a lecture. We're just imagining future aircraft. Think of it as a casual talk over tea. Feel free to speak your mind." Though some are disappointed, this is still a rare chance to be near such icons. No one's missing this. Dennis points at the jet. "Do you all know how vertical takeoff actually works? And how does it differs from normal takeoff?" As the crowd looks confused, Dennis jumps in to explain. "It's actually simple. Classic fighter jets need long runways. They rely on speed to change airflow, but that has two fatal flaws. It takes too long to take off, and it requires too much space. Vertical takeoff solves both issues." As he speaks, he walks to the model. The nozzle rotates down for lift, then horizontal for thrust. Now, imagine if our aircraft carriers were packed with vertical takeoff jets. What happens when war breaks out? An enthusiast excitedly raises his hand. "We'd outdeploy the enemy, control the skies instantly, and deliver devastating attacks." Dennis nods approvingly, but his tone shifts. "Here's the thing. Achieving this is nearly impossible. Rotating nozzles is only step one. The fuselage must be incredibly light, because nozzle lift alone isn't enough. However, lighter means a weaker frame." As everyone absorbs the theory, Brody, a former pilot, senses a problem. The more he studies the model, the worse he feels. That thing looks way too real. As he leans in for a closer look, Jacob says with a smile, "Brody, hop into the cockpit and snap some photos." For the crowd, Brody nods and climbs the ladder into the cockpit. But the moment he steps in, he freezes completely. Something is seriously wrong. Looking at the futuristic console, his head begins to spin. It doesn't look like a model at all. Brody instinctively tenses up, afraid of hitting the wrong switch. What if it actually takes off? They are in the middle of a crowd. No way. What am I afraid of? It's just a model. He tells himself that. Brody reflexively grabs the control stick. The moment he feels the metal, his mind is blown. What the hell? This feels exactly like the real thing. As Jacob wonders what's taking so long, a cold mechanical voice blares from inside the cockpit. "Pilot detected. 6th gen skyward preparing for takeoff. System self-check in progress." Brody is completely flabbergasted. Isn't this supposed to be a model? Why is it running a self-check? Before he can even react, the LCD screen lights up. Life form detected nearby. Switching to vertical takeoff mode, the jet unleashes a piercing alarm that echoes through the entire center. Warning! Aircraft preparing for takeoff. All personnel, clear the area immediately. The shrill alarm tears through the center. Everyone is stunned, their minds spinning with questions. Isn't this just a model? Why is it making so much noise? What the heck? This is way too realistic. A spectator whips out his phone to snap photos like crazy. It even has its own alert system. This model is spot on. Yeah, if I didn't know better, I'd think it was a real jet. Take more pictures quickly. This is the best part of the show. On the observation deck, Dennis and Jacob are terrified. They can see the cockpit from their angle. The screens are glowing, and Brody looks deathly pale inside. Dennis and Jacob exchange a look, their hearts skipping a beat. Something is definitely wrong. What model scares a top pilot like this? Could that thing actually fly? The alarm grows louder by the second. Dennis suddenly snaps out of his trance, disregarding his image. He screams at the crowd. That isn't a model. It's dangerous. Everyone, get out now. The crowd, busy snapping photos, freezes in shock. But it's just a model. Why evacuate? Before they can process it, soldiers move in. Stop taking pictures. Watching the floor clear, Gilbert is baffled. He rushes to the observation deck. Mr. Lark, Mr. Sachs, what happened? Jacob and Dennis fall utterly silent. They admit they panicked. But thinking rationally, this can't be a real 6th-gen fighter jet. That would be ridiculous. Jets like this don't just grow on trees. You just don't build one out of thin air. Never mind the rest. The nuclear fission power module alone is pure science fiction. Even with the systems running and the alarms blaring like crazy, they refuse to believe it's real. Dennis forces himself to stay calm. Just treat it as a spontaneous drill. Gilbert breathes a sigh of relief. Then his radio crackles to life. Commissar Lane. It's Brody. We have a problem. Jacob and Dennis fix their eyes on Gilbert. Brody, explain. I'm in the cockpit, and the system says I can start the engine. What do I do? Gilbert tenses up and glances at Jacob and Dennis. They look stunned but wave him on. Go ahead. It's likely just a simulation program. With their approval, Gilbert gives the order. Brody lets out a sigh of relief. Now that I have permission, there's nothing to fear, right? That said, the moment he grips the control stick, the real, solid feel makes his heart race. His years as a pilot tell him, this thing is far from straightforward. Gabe, that punk, he made this way too real. He hits the start button, and a crisp click cuts through. A powerful force locks him into the seat. He looks down to find that a latch has popped out from the back of the cockpit, pinning him firmly in place. It's just the safety harness. Brody shakes his head. Gabe really outdid himself. Even this looks totally real. He tries to undo it. He isn't actually flying, and being strapped in is uncomfortable. But the moment he touches the latch, the smart alert blares through the cockpit. Aircraft systems online. No unauthorized operations. Brody freezes. Fine. I'll just leave it on. Even though he knows it's not real, his professional habits won't let him slack. He takes a deep breath and hits start. A flood of high-tech alerts fills the screens. Fighter jet warming up, preparing for takeoff. Environment unsuitable for taxiing. Switching to VTOL. Default flight altitude is 59,000 feet. Brody is dumbstruck. Isn't this a model? Why is it telling me the flight altitude? Damn, Gabe really knows how to sell it. He even programmed all this elaborate stuff in a model. Beep, pressure release system standing by. Beep, thrust vectoring engines activating. Brody hears the professional terms and laughs. Thrust vectoring? That's not even real yet. He scoffs in utter contempt. What a joke. Why don't you fly and prove to me that it's real? Before he can finish, a deafening roar erupts. The crowd panics as they watch. The two massive horizontal nozzles tilt down. Then, with a bone-shaking boom, the engines roar tears through the sky. A chill runs down everyone's spine. Every doubtful gaze is fixed on the jet. Is that noise really coming from a model? How can it sound that real? Oh my god, that can't be a real fighter jet, right? On the observation deck, Dennis and Jacob, who have been so sure of themselves, are stunned in place by your creation. As elite aerospace scientists, they've seen every jet imaginable. And yet, the moment they heard that roar, their faces transform. That can't be just a model. That's clearly the roar of a fighter jet engine. What the heck? Why would a model need to be this realistic? Dennis clicks his tongue in disbelief. Before Gilbert can even ask for confirmation, his radio crackles with Brody's shaky voice. Commissar Lane, the engines are running. It has a default altitude of 59,000 feet. Commissar Lane, I think what Gabe built is real. Gilbert begins to panic, glancing desperately at Jacob and Dennis for guidance. Dennis shakes his head vigorously. No, that's impossible. If that's a 6th-gen fighter jet, all our years of research would look like a joke. Jacob agrees. No institution could build this. It's impossible with current technology. They conclude it's a prank, and the noise is just a simulated sonic blast. Dennis tries to rationalize it. Its metallic exterior looks pulled from a futuristic fever dream. Sure, it could manage both aerodynamics and stealth, but it's still a manned fighter jet. The craziest part is the VTOL and nuclear-powered engines. No country on Earth can pull that off. Dennis is practically swearing on his life. If that thing is real, I'll eat it. Just then, the jet hums to life. Wings deployed, engines at full power, nozzles rotating. The rapid succession of technical alerts makes Jacob and Dennis' hearts race before everyone's horrified eyes. The lower nozzles tilt from horizontal to vertical, toward the ground. 6th-gen fighter jet taking off in 10 seconds. Dennis and Jacob go pale with shock. The crowd backs away in terror. A boom echoes. This can't be a simulated sonic blast. Real flames can be seen. 2 scorching jets of fire roar out. Under everyone's stunned gaze, the massive fighter jet slowly lifts off the ground. Silence hangs for a second. Then all hell breaks loose. That's a model? What kind of model can do this? If it can actually fly, then all those insane features in the manual is real too. I thought this was an airshow, not a secret weapons unveiling. While the crowd gasps, Jacob and Dennis feel a shiver run down their spines. They can't even speak properly anymore. Oh my gosh, has VTOL technology been mastered? With how the jet is running, there doesn't seem to be any feature cut. All the specs in that manual are multiple times better than our current jets. Could this really be the fabled 6th-gen jet? On the observation deck, Dennis and Jacob stare, eyes wide. This was supposed to be a static display. The 6th-gen tech isn't even fully understood yet, and someone has actually built one. They're even flaunting it at the airshow. Which genius pulled this off? Meanwhile, inside the cockpit, Brody is close to breaking down, watching the ground fall away. He internally screams, "Yay! Are you crazy? I asked for a model, not the real thing." As an ace pilot, Brody has flown everything, but he's never felt a takeoff this violent. Even a seasoned pilot like him has no idea what to do except clutch the controls tight. He literally doesn't know what to do. And at this speed, he'll hit 59,000 feet in the blink of an eye. What the hell should he do then? His pulse races as he waits for command. As the jet becomes a tiny dot in the sky, Jacob and Dennis finally snap out of it. That is definitely a real fighter jet. And it has tech they can't fathom. But a scarier problem is looming. An unknown fighter jet just launched into their airspace without warning. With no time to consult his partner, he whirls around to a stunned Gilbert. "Quick, contain this information. Not a single detail about this fighter jet can leak out." Gilbert grabs his radio, shouting orders. Staff scramble to disperse the crowd. Then, the jet's real-time feed comes online. The big screen lights up with flight data. One look is enough to terrify anyone. The jet's altitude is still skyrocketing, and its speed is climbing just as fast. At this insane rate of climb, it will hit 59,000 feet in just 30 seconds. Dennis stares at the staff. Is the transmitted data correct? They nod, dead serious. The equipment is fine. If there's a bug, it's in the jet itself. Dennis orders a direct link to Brody. "Brody, our system shows you hitting 59,000 feet in 30 seconds. Are your instruments showing the same?" Brody's trembling voice crackles through. "Sir, the data matches my readings exactly." His words instantly send everyone into a panic. Mouths hang open in total disbelief. They can't believe their own ears. 59,000 feet in 30 seconds is madness. Even the world's most advanced fighter jets could never hit that speed in a vertical climb. Gilbert looks completely puzzled. "Mr. Lark, isn't flying faster a good thing? It saves time, doesn't it?" Dennis draws a deep breath, tamping down a tidal wave of emotion. Faster is good, but this is simply absurd. It's flying vertically at over Mach 2. That surpasses a J-20's max cruising speed. This means the engine's thrust requirements already exceed human understanding. What's even more terrifying is that the wings are holding up under those forces. Gilbert's eyes widen instantly. An engine beyond world-class standards has appeared right in their own backyard. Before he can even process the shock, a mechanical voice cuts through the channel. Altitude surpasses 10,000 feet. Increasing output from nuclear fission module. Every scientist freezes in shock. What did it say? A nuclear fission power module? That's impossible, an expert exclaims. That is technology from a sci-fi movie. Who would actually put that on an aircraft? Yet reality leaves them no room for doubt. The system's voice cuts through the air again. Preparation complete. Nuclear fission power module begins accelerating. At 10,000 feet, the nozzles instantly expand. Like an erupting volcano, they shoot red flames. Before those on the ground can even blink, speed readings soar on the display. In a flash, the jet goes supersonic. As Dennis and Jacob watch this defiance of aerodynamics, they are shell-shocked. It's flying vertically, yet it's already faster than the speed of sound. Fighter jets usually need both engines and lift to break the sound barrier. But with this jet climbing vertically, the wings are entirely redundant. This makes no sense. Does aerodynamics even exist anymore? And what divine material are those wings made of? To not rip off at this speed? Before they can recover, the numbers on the screen spike again. The altitude now surpasses 16,000 feet, and the climb rate hits 120,000 feet per minute. That's twice the speed of sound. How does this power module even operate? It's too fast. Won't something go wrong? Dennis turns pale with fear. This isn't a military zone. There is no mid-air refueling here. If the fuel runs out, it means the total destruction of the aircraft and pilot. Don't panic, Jacob says, licking his chapped lips. The system is smart. It checked its surroundings before takeoff. It won't be reckless. Dennis remembers the insanely advanced intelligence of your design. He finally lets out a small sigh of relief. Just as he goes to ask Brody for an update, Brody's distorted scream hits the channel. What the hell? It's getting faster. Mach 3? Is this even the speed a vertical takeoff should reach? So this is the fearsome power of a 6th-gen jet. The fuselage remains steady as a rock. It's not shaky at all. What futuristic tech is inside these engines? The thrust alone could launch a rocket into space. Listening to Brody's exclamations, the scientists and researchers zone out. As the top dogs in aerospace, they feel like their life's work is worthless. They had planned to build a 6th-gen jet in 6 months. But looking at this data, 6 months? Is this thing really something humans can build? Suddenly, the speed gauge goes off the charts. 400,000 feet per minute. Brody feels some pressure, but things are otherwise normal. Then something even more absurd happens. The fighter jet suddenly slows down on its own. All the nozzles work in perfect coordination, hovering in a defiant position. The jet hangs steady in the air. The observers on the deck go numb. This technology has surpassed human comprehension. They have only one thought: bring this gem back for a detailed study. Brody, are you alright? Dennis' hand trembles as he hits the comms. Yes, sir. I feel better than ever. Good to hear. Now, immediately bring it back safely to a military zone. Brody stares at the screens, flabbergasted. How do I even fly this? Luckily, he's an ace pilot, and your control system is idiot-proof. He begins to figure it out after a few tries, but as he prepares to return, a menu suddenly pops up on the screen. The options make his pupils shrink in shock. Please select the required navigation mode: low-speed cruise, high-speed cruise, maximum speed cruise, adaptive cruise. He doesn't dare act recklessly until he understands the steel beast. After exhaling slowly, he gives the system a command: set a course to the nearest military zone. The emotionless mechanical voice responds: destination locked. Please select cruise mode. Brody hesitates, staring at the options. His finger trembles as he selects adaptive cruise. This mode emphasizes smoothness and safety, the best choice for a rookie's survival. Selection successful. Current mode is adaptive cruise. Brody finally feels the tension ease. He grips the control stick with both hands and pushes it forward cautiously. The jet's nozzles instantly level out. The jet's posture returns to normal. Thankfully, no surprises this time. Brody wipes the cold sweat from his forehead, just as he thinks he can finally relax. For a comfortable flight to a military zone, a massive, overwhelming G-force slams him back. He doesn't even have time to react, as his body is pressed firmly into the seat. What the hell is happening? Brody tries to take a deep breath to calm himself. He is currently over the city. If he makes a panic-induced mistake, forget about his own life. Countless civilians below would be doomed. Adaptive cruise mode is now on. It's currently in low-speed cruise mode. Feeling the terrifying force that could crush a person made Brody's face twitch. Straining to look at the dashboard, he nearly loses it. 2,292 miles per hour. That's already Mach 3. You call this low-speed cruise? Brody completely loses his composure. This damn system must have a virus. It says this is a low-speed cruise, but the speed shoots straight up to Mach 3 instead. What if I switch to high-speed cruise? Will I turn into light right here and fly straight out of the galaxy? As Brody rants internally, Dennis' roar suddenly blasts through the channel. What's wrong with you, punk? I told you to fly steadily. You just went straight to Mach 3? Slow it down immediately. Listening to the barrage of scolding, Brody feels so wrong that he nearly cries. Mr. Lark, you can't blame me for that. I chose adaptive mode, and it automatically adjusted to low-speed cruise. Then it shot up to Mach 3. Brody's explanation makes Dennis' jaw drop. This speed is considered low-speed cruise? The designer must have had rocket thrusters in their head. He whirls around to face the screen, instantly feeling unwell upon seeing it. Not only are the numbers not stopping, but they're actually skyrocketing. In the blink of an eye, the speed surges to Mach 3.6. That's 2,796 miles per hour. Dennis inhales sharply in shock. Other jets can't even reach this speed with afterburners, and this 6th-gen jet is still in low-speed mode. What if it switches to maximum speed cruise? How terrifying would the speed be then? At this rate, one could reach their destination in a flash. But the problem is, at this speed, can it even stop? At that moment, a staff member points at the screen and lets out a terrified scream. Look! Speed readings have crossed Mach 4.5. Dennis' face changes drastically. He bolts to the screen and sees the bright red numbers still shooting up. Mach 4.5. That's around 3,500 miles per hour. And even at such devastating speed, the system still reports the mode as those same glaring words: low-speed cruise. Everyone gapes in disbelief. They can't even find words to describe their shock. But an even scarier question stares them in the face. At this speed, is the pilot even okay? Mach 4.5 produces monstrous G-forces and inertia that no human body can endure. The thought makes Dennis panic instantly. He shouts over the comms, "Brody, talk to me. How do you feel?" Alas, all he hears is the harsh crackle of static. Just when everyone thinks Brody has lost consciousness, under the horrifying acceleration, that emotionless, mechanical voice sounds again. Pilot's physiological limits detected. Pressure resistance protection system activated. Brody, pinned to his seat by the violent acceleration, slowly feels the crushing force ease. He is completely stunned. As he instinctively checks the screen, he freezes. The speed is still Mach 4.5, and the mode is still low-speed cruise. His face twitches uncontrollably. This is 5 times the speed of sound, and you're telling me me this is low-speed cruise? Is this fighter jet humble bragging or something? But he quickly realizes an even more horrifying fact. From 0 to Mach 5, it took less than a minute. Under normal circumstances, such insane acceleration would have shifted his internal organs and shattered his bones. Yet now, he feels not the slightest discomfort. Wait. It's that system alert from before. Upon realizing this, Brody tries lifting his legs. Sure enough, they move freely. Just then, Dennis' frantic shout crackles over the channel. Brody, how are you feeling? Can you still hold on? Brody swallows hard. I feel ridiculously good. He reports every detail of the last few seconds. Hearing this, Jacob, Dennis, and the researchers behind them all look as if they've seen a ghost. Brody is just a pilot. To him, the feature is merely insane. But Dennis knows better, and so does Jacob. This isn't just impressive. This is groundbreaking. Dennis' throat goes dry, his eyes nearly popping out of their sockets. It takes him a long moment to find his voice. Did we just rewrite physics? Jacob wears a look of utter disbelief. He thought he came for ideas, but everything he thought was true just went out the window. Eliminating inertia is forbidden territory in physics. Even rockets can't escape it, so astronauts have to endure crushing G-forces on launch. And now a century-old problem has just been solved by a single feature. This is like digging up Newton and proving him wrong. But the shock isn't over yet. The numbers on the screen keep rising. Within seconds, the speed jumps from Mach 4.5 to Mach 5. That can't be right. Dennis stares at the screen, his brows tightly furrowed. In his understanding, only missiles travel that fast because they were lightweight. To push a fighter jet that fast, one will need a terrifying thrust system. Can our current technology even achieve that? At the same time, under Brody's control, the fighter races toward the southern war zone. Watching the red dot on the map, Brody finally exhales. This flight has been insane. The speed keeps climbing. Thankfully, he's got autopilot activated. Otherwise, if his hand twitches once, he might overshoot the atmosphere. More importantly, this aircraft is priceless. If he scratches it, even selling himself won't cover it. Inside the southern war zone's radar unit, a shrill alarm echoes throughout the room. Something is quickly approaching. The radar operator watches the red dot on screen. His face drains white in an instant, and his voice shakes as he reports. Reporting, sir, a UFO is inbound at extreme speed. Its speed is over Mach 5. It's seconds away from punching into our defense zone. Lock onto it. Track it live. The commander of the radar unit, Wilson, thunders. Can you identify it? We've got a lock, but we can't identify it. The operator is drenched in sweat. As the soldiers beside him trade uneasy looks, a terrifying thought takes shape in every mind. That speed, and that flight path, could it be a foreign classified probe? Everyone comes to the same conclusion. Only a lightweight, high-output probe, stripped of all dead weight, can reach such a terrifying speed. Anger ripples through the command room. They've got some nerve, barging into our airspace like this. One officer slams the table and stands. I say we intercept it now. No matter who it belongs to. We shoot it down first and ask questions later. They need to be taught a lesson. Just as the order is about to go out, Wilson keeps staring at the screen in silence. All of a sudden, his expression stiffens. He watches as the blinking red dot shifts again. The speed that was already insane is still climbing. What's going on? Wilson gasps. The radar operator doesn't hesitate. He immediately reruns the data calculations. When the numbers come back, he freezes in shock. Sir, it's at Mach 10 now. Wilson's eyes widen in disbelief at those words. As the commander of the radar unit, he knows exactly what that number means. If it were a probe, it would have disintegrated into debris already. Anything maintaining that speed, flying straight at them with intent, can't possibly be a probe. There's only one explanation, and it's a top-tier hypersonic intercontinental missile. Wilson's expression changes instantly. He roars at the top of his lungs. Level 1 alert. Sound the air defense sirens immediately. To verify what's happening, Wilson grabs the phone and calls the missile unit. He bellows at them the second the call connects. Are you running some unauthorized test? Do you have any idea how serious this is? The voice on the other end sounds even more stunned. What are you talking about? We didn't launch anything. Cold sweat beads on Wilson's forehead. If it isn't their own, then it's an enemy strike. He slams the button to activate the level 1 air defense alarm. The sirens rip across the entire southern military base. Everyone assumes war has begun. Soldiers abandon drills and sprint toward bunkers. Researchers scramble to dismantle critical equipment. After all, those research datasets are imperative. The panic doesn't stay on base. It spreads straight into the nearby city. The sirens make civilians' hearts jump into their throats. People pour into the streets in confusion. Fortunately, the army appeared just in time. Soldiers escort civilians into air raid shelters. No one knows what's happening, but it feels like the apocalypse just arrived. And it's all because of the fighter jet you designed. Meanwhile, Dennis and Jacob are completely stunned as they monitor the data. Don't tell me our enemy chose to strike while we're working on the 6th-gen fighter jet. All eyes turn toward Gilbert, but he looks just as baffled as everyone else. Just then, the phone rings.